Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Ratos de Porão, Necropolítica, out May 20th on FOAD Records. The album has 10 tracks, 32 minutes in length, and this the band's 13th full-length studio album. They are a Brazilian punk hardcore band, iconic Brazilian punk hardcore band. Now, if you're a fan of the band, coming into this album, I don't think you're going to see any surprises. The album delivers exactly what you would expect from a Ratos de Porão record. From a structural perspective, it's a very cohesive album. It feels like a unit. All the songs having a lot of similarities musically, and definitely there's a lyrical theme that permeates throughout the entire record, so that helps bring it all together. But also being 10 songs in 32 minutes doesn't allow the album to overextend itself, dilute a little bit of the content, and definitely dilute the message and the experience. So I really like this construction, I really like this style, and I like the fact that you can take your favorite songs out of the context of the album and they really don't lose any quality within them. You can still appreciate the message, the sound, the experience that they have, and not necessarily need a song that comes before and a song that comes after to kind of glue and give the tracks a little bit more of a life, a little bit more of a journey within themselves. So this design is absolutely perfect for the band and for the message that the album holds. As far as the soundscape is concerned, this is a hardcore punk record, but it has some crossover thrash elements, specifically in the guitars. You can see how groovy the guitars are throughout the entire album, but you also can see how groovy the bass is. The beauty of the soundscape of this album is that it has the best of both worlds. It feels as raw and organic and emotional as a live album, but it still has the quality of a studio record. Finding that middle ground where it's not overly produced, but at the same time is not too raw that feels like it was just recorded in the garage. Having that middle ground is absolutely perfect for Ratos de Porão. And this album definitely delivers. It walks that fine line from the first all the way to the last track. Now, one thing that I was surprised or slightly surprised by was how much the bass pops on this record. I'm not saying that it didn't pop on previous albums, but it was a lot more noticeable on this one. Now, I'm normally not a fan of that bass tone, and I'm definitely not a fan of having the bass pop constantly on almost every single track. But for the sound that this record has, for the theme, for the aggression, for the overall vibe, for that hardcore punk traditional sound of Ratos de Porão, you almost need it. And it works really well because it makes the record feel like it has a little bit more heart. It has a little bit more soul. It adds grooviness to the sound, and it helps ground the tracks. And then on top of that, when you bring in the guitars, when you bring the chunky riffs of the guitars, when you bring the grooviness that the overall guitars have from start to finish, you start to feel like this album really needed that bass in order to complement everything else around it. It doesn't take anything from the guitars. It doesn't take anything from the drums. It doesn't take anything away from the vocals. It just complements it a little bit better. And going back to what I was saying earlier in terms of adding a live experience in the studio, that bass really does that. I feel like it's the glue that connects both worlds. When you have a fine line that you're walking, the bass line is that fine line throughout this entire album. Now the vocals, João Gordo, phenomenal. He sounds vintage. Absolutely phenomenal performance from start to finish. I came in looking for that raspy voice that he has, delivering those incredible lyrics, letting you know the world that he sees through his eyes and his own experience, never holding back, not afraid of saying what's on his mind, and this album was no different. He did exactly what I was expecting, and I loved every single minute of it. Definitely one of the elements that helps ground the record, and definitely one of the elements that helps unify the album from start to finish, because his vocal performance is very uniform across all 10 songs, and I don't want anything else. I don't want him to change anything. I just want that raspiness. I just want that blunt force with his vocals to come through and deliver that lyrical content and allow the songs to have heart, soul, and definitely a message behind them. Overall, this is a strong album, a fun album to listen to. I really enjoyed the overall experience. I enjoy the construction. I enjoy the design. I enjoy the soundscape. That fine line between live and studio works really well for them. It's a fun album to listen to. It's an album that it's easy to get into because there's a lot of hooks. There's a lot of great melodies, great guitar sound from start to finish. You have the bass that really pops, and then you have João Gordo on vocals doing what he does best. It's just an album that feels very complete. There's nothing really missing from this record. It's an album that checks all the boxes as far as the band is concerned, and I think is going to resonate with the fans of Ratos de Porão. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with the opening track, Alerta Antifascista. Very groovy track. I mean, this track is a great opener. First of all, it's memorable, it's hooky, it has a great chorus, something that you're going to see throughout the entire record. It has that chunkiness on the guitar that becomes very groovy, something that you're going to see throughout the entire album. It has a chorus that breaks the momentum of the track, that allows you to slow down ever so slightly, something that you're also going to see throughout the record. More so in some tracks, less in others, but it's going to be a very common denominator throughout this entire record. So you have the lyrical theme, you have the musical drive. It's a song that just really encompasses what the whole record is going to give you. So the moment you press play on the album and you get this song, you know exactly what you're listening to, you know who you're listening to, and you have an idea of what the whole album is going to be all about. Next, Passa, Pano pra Elite, a more hardcore, straight up hardcore song, very demolishing in its way, the bass popping, giving groove, but also grounding the track. The guitars feel very chunky in their sound, but still very groovy as well. So it has a great vibe. This song has great sound, has a great mood, and it has a great tempo. The vocals help guide the experience from start to finish. There are ebbs and flows. It's not a song that stays uniform throughout its existence, but the vocals really help bring things down. It helped flatten out those ebbs and flows ever so slightly so that the song feels more direct and definitely feels more driven. Last but not least, Bostanágua, hardcore punk track, 2 minutes, just around the 2-minute mark. This is a song that comes at you fast and furious, both musically and vocally. Great song from that perspective. You need a few tracks like this on a record, especially on a Ratos de Porão album, because you want to feel like you're in that mosh pit. This is a track that's going to be balls to the wall, a real pit killer of a track, because it's built with violence. It has that punk undertone to it from start to finish. So when you listen to this track, you can close your eyes and envision what the pit is going to look like, what it's going to feel like once this song gets played live. Great track from that perspective. This is it, guys. Ratos de Porão, Necropolítica, out May 20th. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.